Hey, happy 4th of July to everyone. Hope you have a great holiday. My local Home Depot recently started stocking a selection of shiplap planks that have been textured and stained to resemble weathered barnwood. It's really pretty stuff, although it was kind of pricey, but they've recently marked it down to clearance, and so I picked up a couple of pieces with this specific project in mind. This American flag, I wanted to try to stick pretty close to the official flag dimension guidelines, which I looked up online, and it's 1 to 1.9 inches. The material that I've purchased is 8 feet long and 4 inches wide, so I'm going to create a flag that is 16 inches in height, and I need to calculate width. So that is 16 times 1.9, which gives me 30.4. 30.4 will allow me to cut 3 pieces out of each 8-foot section and minimize the waste. So I think that's what I'm going to be going with. The construction was going to be pretty simple. Just cut up and glue a larger panel out of the shiplap pieces and frame it with a border in matching material but with a contrasting color. Initial fitting of the cut planks showed nearly a 1/4 inch gap between each board, but I wanted the boards to fit together tighter, so I ripped off a piece of the half lap joint on each section. This reduced the gap down to between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch, which was more acceptable for this project. I then glued each of the boards together to form the field. I used a contrasting color of barnwood for the frame by just simply ripping a 1x4 in half. The half laps weren't milled very precisely, and the boards had some bow and twist to them. After glue up, there was a noticeable bow in the panel. To correct this, I just cut down a couple scraps of pine and glued them to the back of the panel to both stiffen it and help flatten it. The outside frame was put together with simple mitered corners. I used a pneumatic nailer to hold each side in place, and I did glue the miters together with the hopes that it'll help prevent them from pulling apart. For color, I picked up 3 quarts of the cheapest normal latex house paint I could find in a flat sheen. The blue color was custom matched from a chip I found in the rack that looked close to what I thought the blue should be, but the red was actually called Old Glory Red. The white was just untinted white paint. To apply the paint, I used a small foam roller because I didn't want to completely cover the surface, at least not very deeply. I only wanted to hit the high spots of the textured wood. For the star field, I knew that there was a 0% chance that I was going to be able to precisely paint 50 stars into the field and keep them both consistently sized and not running off at some weird angle. I looked around online and found an image that had the correct layout and spacing and printed a couple of different versions on my printer, both sized and scaled differently. After messing around a bit with print settings and output, I finally got one that the stars were positioned correctly and that filled the blue space correctly. I then cut out each star with a small razor knife. This part was decidedly unfun. The blue section was too large for me to include all of the stars on a single sheet of paper, but I was able to reposition it and finish it out. Here is the final result. It actually looks even nicer in person because you can really see the wood texture and the whole thing looks aged, which is kind of what I was going for. I may end up doing a wash coat of thinned brown stain over the whole thing to age it even more. I think that might tone down the bright white a little bit further, but overall I'm really happy with the results.